We are live, guys. We are absolutely live. But you know what? We're going to hit a countdown real quick. I need my 30 seconds, guys. I need my 30 seconds. Let's do a quick countdown. Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to the Saturday morning coffee talk. As you understand, I'm late. I'm late according to Central Time. That's what I am. I am pretty late according to Central Time. But guess what, guys? I have been in California all week since last Sunday with the family, enjoying ourselves. And I've gotten used to this West Coast time. So I said today, we're going to have a great show today, by the way. We're going to have a fantastic show. We're going to have a good brother of ours come on the show and talk to us about artificial intelligence, as well as machine learning, as well as everything that he's doing right now in the job market in these areas and how you can get there as well, too. But before we get there, I want to talk to you guys about what a fantastic week it's been. I'm over here spitting on myself already. We've had a fantastic week this week, guys, meaning a lot has been accomplished this week, goals and so forth, but also we've had a lot of time to spend together as a family. I took my kids to Disneyland for the first time in California. We went to California Adventures, then we did the Disneyland park the next day. The kids walked over 25,000 steps each day. They were troopers, had their first doing a lot of stuff. First roller coaster, first Ferris wheel, first haunted house, all that sort of stuff, right? It was a fantastic week. I was working as well as having some free time as well, too. So daddy had to sprinkle himself here and there. But Teresa was trooping it up, making sure that we hit the right spots at the right time, making sure I was there at the right time as well, too. Last night, guys, I had an opportunity to host a West Coast Patreon meetup. And I got an opportunity to meet our brother Brandon Levi and our other brother Brandon here, two Brandons, by the way, here in California. We did a Patreon meetup at Culver City, Rush Street. Dope spot. Very, very dope spot. I brought one of my good brothers who's responsible for my marketing, a lot of the marketing that we do at Black Heights as well. And we just chopped it up from 8 o'clock last night until about 1 o'clock in the morning at one restaurant, right? A lot of stuff was said. A lot of information was gained. A lot of, relationships were, bonded and, established as well, too. So, guys, shout out to the Patreon. If you are not part of the Patreon, go ahead and join the community. It is a fantastic community of like-minded individuals who are on their path to success. And not only that, I almost see it as somewhat of a fraternity, right? Where you're there for each other, you're there to help each other and so forth. But you're also able to see people who are doing some wonderful things in life, and also are able to get the game from, people like myself and other folks who share other areas of knowledge within their life and their careers and so forth. So, guys, I wanted to make sure I did that. Do me a favor, when you come into this video, hit the like button. Go ahead and hit that like button. If you're new to this channel, go ahead and hit the subscribe button as well, too, guys. And I hope you guys are ready. I hope you guys are ready. We got a good brother of ours who comes in just about all the time on Saturday morning to give us the game. He was on our channel when we talked about Meta. And of course, I'm going to have a question about the metaverse for him, right? Because all kinds of things are happening right now within the metaverse that Meta is talking about themselves and what they're doing and so forth. And all of that has to do with machine learning and artificial intelligence. So let me do this, guys. I'm going to introduce you all to AI and ME. AI and ME for artificial intelligence. And what does the ME stands for? I know ME typically is mechanical engineering, or is that machine learning, man?
I just say it's AI and me. So rather than ME, just AI and me. So it's just,
I love it. I absolutely love it. Good morning. How are you doing, brother?
I'm doing great. I want to be like you, man. Taking it easy with the family and still working hard. So I'm trying to strive to be like you. I want to be like you. I want to be in California too. It's cold down here in DC. So I want to
Oh
be like
man.
you.
I tell you one thing, the weather here is absolutely fantastic. I mean, we're waking up
Yes.
right now. I just went and got us coffee from Coffee Bean and Tea Leaves. It's about 53 degrees, so it's a nice little chill in the air. But in the afternoons, man, it gets to like 69 to 70 and so forth. And there's this nice beach breeze and so forth. I swear California has some of the best weather, whether it's South or North California in the entire world. I know for sure in the United States, for sure. So I see why people move out here, but it's just expensive.
It's expensive.
It's very expensive.
A company tried to recruit me to go down there. And I looked at the housing prices. I'm like, nah, I'm not coming down there. I'm good where I am. So, no, I'm good where I am. I'm good with DC and DMV area. So
I'll tell you one thing, but DC is dope, right? But
it's
the thing about DC can be expensive too. AI and
yeah, but I live in Virginia, so the Richmond, it's expensive, but again, the opportunities in DC is boundless. It's there's a lot to do, and you will never ever, you always have just say you always have a lot of money to do what you need to do if you study the right thing. So yeah, so I love DMV area. It's not as expensive as California. It's expensive, but not as expensive as California, and there's a lot of opportunities down here in DMV. So I'm repping for the DMV.
We're going to get into that. We're going to get into that in a quick second, AI.
Yeah.
Let me do something real quick. Let me say hi to the people in the chat. Happy 2222 is in the house. I appreciate you being here. It says he's here. We also got great family is important. You're absolutely right. JP, the noble man, is in the house. What up, Black Hypes? I hope all is well. All is absolutely well. JP, the noble man. I say this, right? I was talking to AI and ME in the backstage, and I just, we were up until we were out until 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm just tired, man. It's been a long week, right? So me, I'm doing fantastic. Just, missing a little bit of hours of sleep this week. But other than that, it's been fantastic. Ashton James in the house. Good morning, BH in the chat. I appreciate you being here. Brother PBO is in the house, all the way coming to
Black Ops. President of Black Ops.
Black Ops is in the house, man. Power duo right there. He said, good morning. Absolutely good morning to you, brother. Tamara Wade is in the house too. Happy Saturday, everyone.
Happy Saturday.
And Happy 22 is coming to us from Arizona. Arizona is dope. That's another place.
Yeah, I lived in New Mexico, so I was always going to go to Arizona and New Mexico. So yeah, those are beautiful places.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, let's do this. Let's do this, AI and ME.
Okay.
Go ahead and introduce yourself, man. Give the folks a little bit about your background, your story, how you got into, AI and so forth, because I know you talk about that all the time. So give the folks a little bit of background on yourself, bro.
Okay. First things first, I attended North Carolina State and then North Carolina A&T for my universities, where I got a bachelor's in chemical engineering and a master's in civil engineering. And after that, I decided to start work. I decided to go back again to get another degree in logistics. But at one point, I decided I needed real world experience and not a lot of education. It was getting too much. So I then decided to go work, and I started working in a manufacturing setting where I was producing carpets and polymers for carpets. So I was dealing with a lot of reactors and all that. So at one point, when I was dealing with all this, one of my mentors in the manufacturing industry said, "Hey, I want you to start looking at data analytics, data analytics. Just start looking at it and seeing what you can do with this, especially in the manufacturing side." So I started looking at data analytics, data analyst, taking data and trying to make sense of the data. And he said, and at one point I got hooked in data and said, okay, this sounds fun. Then he told me, look, I want you to use this and go in more in depth. He said, again, that's why I always say mentors and people, they always look out for you. And this guy was a southern white guy who goes fishing and camping, and he just took a liking with me. And I went camping with him too, with his family too. So this was the guy who's pure southern dude. Like, hey, look, there's future in data, and I'm seeing a big future in data. And I think you have a knack for it, and I think you need to go and study it more. And he said,
and let me pause you for real quick, AI. Well, I mean, you have to say, just like Happy 2222 said, your education is very impressive. I'm like, okay, so you went over the engineering so fast to the point where I typically am able to like listen very closely. But say what type of engineering degrees you have again, brother?
Chemical engineering, my bachelor's, and a master's in civil engineering.
God damn, man.
Yes.
Okay. Very impressive. Very, very impressive. So you are a very intelligent man, considering you've been in the engineering world in your undergrad as well as your master's as well too. Yeah. So when you see credentials of somebody like that, right, it's very easy to say, oh my God, this guy's smart, especially after strong work ethic and so forth. So I understand why certain people would actually take a liking to you because you're doing quality work, and not only that, you're a brilliant guy. But continue on. I wanted to make sure I hit on that point, man. We ain't talking about no liberal arts degree here. We're talking about engineering degrees here, which is very difficult to have. I talk about them all the time.
It is, but it's also, again, the reason I majored in all this is because it gives me that diversity to basically go into different areas, I'm not even data. So again, he told me the money is going to be in data. And I'll say this, because of that advice, I am where I am today, because it opened doors I can't even imagine right now. And money I couldn't even imagine, because when I was in college, I always say, man, if I can make $60,000, I'm rich. I'm like, yeah, because remember in college, I was working in Walmart, stacking boxes, stacking cereal, stacking cans. I'm like, and I'm working like for what, $5 or $7 an hour. I'm like, man, if I can make 60,000, I'm rich. I'm good. 60 grand. And I'll get me a nice apartment, a nice Toyota Corolla. I'm good. There's nothing in the world that's going to stop me.
Yep.
But he told me, look, go into this. It will take time. You will sacrifice a little bit. Again, I went from engineering to data analyst as a process engineer. Like, okay, you said your career will at first slow down, but at one point you will go some places even I won't be able to go. So you will sacrifice a little bit, but I promise you that sacrifice will be worth it. And it is. Oh God, it is.
Wow. So
I took the advice. I said, okay, I'm going to start looking at data. So not only I bought books on, don't worry, I took advanced statistics in grad school. So I said, okay, let me start looking at statistics again. So I started reading books on statistics, started reading books on matrix algebra, on linear algebra, on everything. I started reading books on, then I said, okay. And I started practicing what I was reading in the manufacturing side. I'm like, okay, doing this, doing that, okay. Then I was 3 years into my manufacturing job, and I got a call from a government agency, which I'm not going to talk about. Defense agency that creates some things I'm not going to talk about. It said, Patrick, I want you to come down and work for me to do some new products. And we're going to pay you double your salary you have right now, and you're just going to come and work for me. I'm like, okay. Double the salary, and I was making 60 grand. I'm like, you're going to pay me 120? What am I doing exactly?
You're balling now. You were absolutely balling now. That's what's up, man.
I was making 60, and I wasn't married. And my current wife right now was my fiance. Was like, okay, you're making 60, but you need to do something. We're trying to get married, and you need to hurry up and get your life together more. Yep. I'm like, we want to have family, right? I said, okay. And I got a call and said 120. I'm like, oh no, yeah, okay, I'm coming down to New Mexico then. Me and my wife right now, okay, so we packed up and went to New Mexico. And then I was involved in, that's when I was more in depth in AI, machine learning, deep learning, reinforcement learning. I mean, that job basically drove because I was working with the top of the best of the best. I was working with physicists. I was working with mechanical engineers, chemical engineers. I was working with people, Nobel Prize laureates that were doing stuff in nuclear physics. I was working with people.
Wow.
And they taught me about machine learning, AI, deep learning. They taught me about things like I was taking classes in seismology. That's why my
What is
job.
that? No, you got to
So I
explain.
was taking basically seismology, how the crust of the earth, what affects the earth's crust, and basically movement of the earth, things that basically affects the earth, the ground, and earthquakes and all that stuff. So I was taking classes in seismology, and I was asking questions like, why am I taking classes? They said, you understand, don't worry. So this is why my job is I can't talk much about, but this is what I was doing in my job. I was doing nuclear physics, seismology. I was even taking virology, viruses. I'm like, okay. So I was taught a lot, and I was working with the best of the best. I mean, the best of the best, the brightest minds, and they taught me how to think, how to basically decipher a whole process, how to decipher anything. They taught me how to use AI, machine learning, deep learning. They introduced a lot of subjects. These were subject matter experts in their fields, and they taught me a lot. So I learned a lot about AI and machine learning for the past 5-6 years in that job.
Wow.
Then
and AI, Amy, give me 1 second. I want to ask this. I want to definitely ask this. So, when you made the switch to, becoming a data analyst,
yes,
that was like a catalyst in order for you to, start to understand, the numbers, the data and stuff like that. And that's what allowed for you to, spin off and kind of go into the AI route. So
that's the first part of learning AI. I always tell people, start with the data analyst position. It'll give you the insights on how to move into the machine learning. So data analyst, you can start as a data analyst. I always tell people, using Excel, using PowerPoint, you can become a brilliant data analyst. Just those two, Excel, PowerPoint, and learning basic statistics. Basic. You can become the most brilliant data analyst you can be. Just those three. You don't need Python and coding. And the data analysts, they pay a lot of money right now. A lot of money. And there's a lot of job opportunities in there. So
I love that you said that, because one of the fields that we talk about for an MIS degree, a lot of people either go into business analysts, data analysts, and so forth. And the good thing is that obviously there's a career trajectory for data analysts that can lead to things like machine learning and so forth. And I'm assuming that you mentioned 3 areas of skills that you can be really good at. Statistics, right? You mentioned it being PowerPoint and Excel.
Yes, those 3.
Those 3 are very, very critical. So at the end of the day, you're looking at data and you have the storyteller behind it, right?
Yeah.
So that's absolutely good.
So with those three, I always tell people, with those 3, I can teach you how to become a data analyst within 3 or 4 months, because those 3 can. Because I haven't recently, someone just told me someone was looking for a data analytics for this position, and I said, okay, what kind of position? Then he gave me a test. I'm like, this test is. I did the test in 5 minutes, because again, Excel's tools are versatile now.
Yep.
So you can do a lot of analysis on Excel quickly and easy.
Yep.
And you just take your time, you can learn Excel easily. So those 3 tools can make you a brilliant data analytics and data analytics and data. And with that progression from data analyst, then you can move into machine learning. Again, all you need to learn in machine learning is Python, statistics, and you're good. And basically, you're already a good machine learning engineer. I can show you how to do that easy. Again, there's a progression. And once you reach that progression where you understand data science, data analytics, AI, then the doors are open for you. I mean, there's so many jobs out there, they're begging people. I mean, I get calls even on Saturdays and Sundays from recruiters. I'm like, don't y'all take a day off? Like,
hey, I recruited you to come on the show, man. I called you on a Saturday.
yes, don't you guys take a day off or something? He's like, no, we need that money. I'm like, okay.
Well, we'll say this. We'll say this, AIME. So I want to go to your career, right? Like,
so
obviously, you were a data analyst, and then you went down. Obviously, you can't talk about the.
No, I get that.
Right? But what was the road? Talk to us about like that road, that next road, because I mean that's a huge bump from $60,000 to $120,000. You're like, yeah, we're leaving this place right here. We're going down here. I'm getting ready to get this game. I'm getting ready to set myself up for the future, right? Like, talk about what was that actual role that you were actually in, and then your progression in that role to get into machine learning. As a matter of fact, and even hit on the definitions of those, because a lot of people, when they talk about AI and machine learning and stuff like that, many people think they are like the same, and maybe they are the same. But tell people exactly what they are as well, too, as you continue to navigate within your career.
So, from when I left the private sector till now, I'm in the government sector. Real dealing with AI and a lot of stuff in the government sector. I can tell you, I'm in roles like one of my roles. I was a nuclear engineer. We're dealing with machine learning and all that. And another role, I'm a machine learning engineer. And the last role I'm currently in, I'm a senior principal data scientist.
Wow.
So these are my roles in terms of what I've been progressing. So I started as a process engineer, data analyst. Then over time, I started going to a nuclear engineer with emphasis on machine learning, deep learning, and all that. So machine learning is basically the ability to take data and train an algorithm. So for instance, YouTube algorithm, if I want to train a YouTube algorithm to always detect anomalies or detect curse words, I take the data of basically every curse word I can find and feed that algorithm. And the algorithm starts looking at each video and filters, okay, this word is basically one of the curse words. I basically fed the algorithm, and it then basically eliminates it. And that's what machine learning is. It's trying to teach an algorithm to perform a certain task using data. That's the important thing. The engine of a machine learning algorithm is data. It's good data. And what people think of AI, when I say AI, the one thing that comes to everybody's mind is the movie Terminator. And the robots are gonna kill us or take us. I'm like, no, don't do that. That's not AI. And please stop. The goal is AI is so vast that everybody's trying to put AI into a basket where they can understand. And even I do AI, and I'm still telling you, you can't box AI into something you want to understand. AI is too vast for that. AI right now, AI is in our lives. I always look at this in our lives, in health, wealth, and relationships. Right, that's the three aspects of our lives. AI is involved in each of those aspects of our life.
Give an example. Give an example in each one of those.
Wealth. Wealth. You want to go to the bank. You want to go get a loan from a bank. An AI decides that loan for a mortgage. It's not a human being. An AI, an algorithm, takes into consideration your background, your income, takes in all those variables and says, okay, is this guy the right? What is the risk of giving this guy a loan based on an algorithm? That's AI. You want a business loan, the same thing. And the AI decides whether they give you a business loan or not. So a mortgage and a business loan, that decides an AI. Your health, most health right now is basically incorporating AI. If you go if you go into your hospital, the scanners, most when they scan your when you do an X-ray, the AI there's an AI right now that's basically is used to detect if you have any anomalies in your organs based on the X-ray. The AI is even sharper than any human eye, so they use that to detect any anomalies in your organs. If you have any cancerous cells in your organs, that AI basically has the ability to detect that cell better than a human eye. So they use that AI now to do that. AI is also used in robotics in terms of they're trying to replace some not replace. We're lacking nurses right now.
Yep.
So they're bringing AI in terms of robotics to basically to behave like a nurse right now.
You say that, right? And I was just talking about this last night, and I read an article about this morning in Business Insider, right? How there's a lack of healthcare individuals like nurses and doctors and so forth, to where the improvements of technology to become better assistants at these roles are starting to speed up a tremendous amount. For example, in the transportation industry, we already know that there's a huge shortage of truck drivers, right? Because truck drivers have this
autonomous vehicles,
right? And they've also determined that they want to be around their families more, and they don't like to be on the road a lot, and so forth, right? So there's this company that's based out of LA. I forgot the actual name of it, but they have basically like a train type of a car that the owner, he worked at SpaceX for 13 years, and he started the company on the side. And basically, this is like a freight train, but it's in a cars type of a format. And this is supposed to be, the middle miles of deliveries and transportation. So you're already starting to see already that the autonomous vehicles, like you mentioned, that truck drivers, because there's a huge shortage. Also, at the same time, the improvements of technology, we're starting to automate a lot of stuff. So we're these people who are, driving all day. They don't have to do that anymore. They can, just be close to the first mile, in the same city and deliver that piece of it, or either on the last mile. And that's the only work that they actually have to do. So it's pretty dope to see that you have technology improvements like this that have been around for quite some time, because you've been doing this yourself, AI Amy, for how long?
11 years.
Wow.
So, right now I'm a CTO for a company that basically is in the health sector as AI. So I create AI for the company. For instance, telehealth. Now it's a big aspect because nobody wants to go to the hospital, because they tell you if you go to the hospital and you're not have a serious issue, you're more likely to be able to catch COVID or something if you go to the hospital. They say, so if you have a small problem, they tell you, don't come to the hospital. There's a likelihood you might catch something. Rather, so now telehealth is a big thing, where now you can speak to a doctor. And what I've been looking and designing is, instead of speaking to a doctor, I try to take all the knowledge of a doctor, all the knowledge of everything, and put it into an algorithm. So the algorithm then says, okay, the algorithm then starts thinking like a doctor. Every knowledge of a doctor, every book he's read. So now he can, if you come in and say, hey, I have this issue. So they check all the variables and say, okay, we might diagnose you as maybe having a simple headache. Then basically that algorithm is basically a second opinion to the doctor. So now you have two opinions, an AI and a doctor. So now you have two. So an AI can make his diagnosis. Then the doctor looks at it and says, okay, I agree with the AI's diagnosis, or I disagree with the AI's diagnosis based on, again, your vitals. So telehealth, what I was helping to design is, so when someone, okay, for instance, I always use this funny aspect. So someone is coming out of the club and she's drunk, or she has a wild headache or something, and she's walking around. And she's like, I'm not feeling that good. So there's a small telehealth machine just available, maybe a CVS, something like that. And you say, I'm not feeling good. So you go in, you click on it, and you offer your ID and everything, and say, hey, I'm not feeling good. I need to see a doctor. Instead of going to the emergency room and spending a whole lot of money, you just go in there, look into it, and say, okay, what's your problem? We need to take your vitals immediately. So I also look at that designing like a Fitbit watch that you can put in immediately and takes your vitals, your heartbeat, takes maybe your oxygen level and everything. And once you wear it, it takes all of that. Then okay, I know your vitals at that point. Then the algorithm then looks at your vitals and asks you questions like what are your symptoms? And you relay that symptoms. That's another algorithm that takes all that and says, okay, I've taken your symptoms, your variables, your symptoms. I've taken your vitals. Based on all this and what you said, and maybe your records, this is what I think you're having. This is the problem I think you're having. And I'm going to then confer with another doctor if he agrees with the AI's diagnosis. And if he agrees, then okay, I need you to go take a couple of aspirins. You just hung over. Take a couple of aspirins and go home. Then you go home. Maybe then we leave the watch on you to make sure we're monitoring your vitals. Then if there's something that happens, maybe your vitals, your heart rate falls below normal, we contact the ambulance and say, hey, she came used our telehealth services. We're still monitoring her and we see her vitals are falling. We're contacting an ambulance and we need to get her quickly to a hospital. But if we see there's nothing wrong with you, we actually return our watch and we're good to go. Just take that. So that service will be provided for you at a cheaper rate than going to the emergency room and getting this. So that's a telehealth service.
Wow. And I love that. And something that you said to AI and ME is when you talk about like machine learning, you talk about algorithms and you talk about like, programming, or you said the basis was data.
Yeah.
And it's using data and you have to program algorithms in order for it to interpret that data and so forth. So
yeah.
I'm assuming like how much of programming is key to knowing AI in machine learning, because you think about it, something you said, and I picked it up is, you program it like it's a human,
yes.
right? So like taking, a whole bunch of information and you're just feeding it. And it's like a whole bunch of if-else statements or
no if-else, no if-else. The program is basic statistics. So we're taking what's already the algorithms that existed, the mathematical algorithms, the statistical algorithms that already existed. If you take business statistics, your regression, your MX plus B, that is an important algorithm in machine learning, if you didn't know. So we're taking that, takes variables and then makes decision. Just that. So we're taking existing statistical analysis tools and put it in a high-speed computer that can make decisions. So learning statistics is the best thing you can do to become a machine learning engineer. People with social studies degree learn statistics, and now they're machine learning engineers. People with music degrees learn statistics, and they become.
Guys. Hey. You know what? We had Ella on. We had Ella on talking about, obviously her path into tech, right? And what we're hearing AI and ME says, hey guys, if another path for you to get into tech, if you have a degree like music, social studies, sociology, whatever these degrees are that aren't getting you a lot of money, and the opportunity for you is to learn things like business statistics or some sort of statistics. And that is a fundamental in the basics of, data analysts or machine learning and, artificial intelligence. That's another way that you can break into the technology sector. And that's something I'm glad that you said that, AI and ME, because, every single time I talk about like, the stuff on that I understand from a technical perspective, and you're always the one that's asking the questions. Hey, Antoine, when you're going to talk about data analytics, when you're going to talk about machine learning and AI, and I was like, I got to bring you on to have the conversation about it. But I had no idea that that was the fundamentals behind these areas.
Basic statistics.
I didn't areas, right? But it makes sense, though. It makes a lot of sense.
So basic statistics is not. I'm not programming. Right now, I've done it so much that most of my programming, I have templates where I just copy, and my job now is to understand when to use the algorithms. how to use the algorithms. Is this a variable? What algorithms is basically the best to use in this situation? And also, beyond that, I also learned other aspects of data science. Again, machine learning is the first part of data science. There's other parts of it. There's deep learning. And deep learning is basically the ability for machines to think with a neural network. So how our brains are basically wired, like neurons and all that. So we have that neural network, and we feed data into that neural network to make that decisions. And that's what autonomous cars are. They're using deep learning. They've designed algorithms based on our neural network, or how our brains are wired. And then we feed data on it to basically make decisions better. And that's how autonomous cars are basically designed. That's how other things are basically designed. And that's the second part of data science. There's a third part of data science called reinforcement learning, where this time I'm using the algorithm to learn from the environment. So I put an algorithm, I say, okay, I'm going to use an algorithm to basically put an algorithm like a puzzle. If I want, like how a mouse learns how to navigate a maze.
Yeah.
It's the same thing an algorithm does. I'm taking an algorithm and I'm teaching the algorithm how to navigate the maze on using the environment. So I'm not giving it data. I'm just saying, you here, using trial and error, learn how to navigate this maze just with the algorithm. So I'm not giving it data. I'm not doing it. I'm just giving the algorithm and say, this is a maze. Using trial and error mistakes, navigate this maze. And that's the last part of data science, reinforcement learning. Without feeding it data, you're using the environment to teach that algorithm. So you're not feeding it data, but using environment to teach it. It's like a human child. Rather than feeding it data, ABC, you say, okay, I'm going, like when I wanted to learn how to swim, is instead of my parents saying, hey, I'm going to teach you one step, they just pushed me in the pool and said, try sink or swim, you'll learn. But at least the pool was shallow, so, but hey, sink or swim. But that's how it is. We're pushing the algorithm to an environment to learn, sink and swim. Rather than giving it data to learn, we just say, here, learn how to navigate this, learn how to navigate a road, for instance, autonomous vehicle. Learn how to navigate this whole road from here to Chicago. Learn how to navigate it without us telling you what to do. You make mistakes, learn from that mistakes. What did you learn from that mistake?
Wow,
that's the last part of data science.
Yeah.
But I always tell people, because I've done this I've gone through all their steps. I always tell people, even the first part, they pay you so much money just to learn that first part, the machine learning. If you learn the other part, you become a subject matter expert, and they pay you way much money than that.
And we're going to get to that. And we're going to get to that. We're going to get to the money. You know, I like to talk about the money, man. So, one of the things that I heard you say, AI and me, is this, right? Like, many people, when they talk about tech, they always say, hey, you know what? I'm not good in math. I'm not good in math. And, one of the reasons why I chose, MIS over computer science as a major was because, I found the math to be tough. Now, you're a brilliant guy. Obviously, you got, multiple engineering degrees, so math wasn't that tough for you. But for people who are out there who, aren't good in math and are a bit scared of it, the people who math majored in music or sociology and stuff like that, is like when you start to get into, the data analyst roles, the AI, ME, are there like higher levels of math outside of statistics? Because statistics for me was actually relatively easy, right?
See, that's the one thing. The most right now, I've learned everything from calculus, linear algebra, and all that. But the one thing I'll tell you right now, the one thing that basically the one math that basically makes sense of the world is statistics. Statistics is the most important math in the world right now, because that math makes decisions for you. It makes decisions on your risk. It makes decisions on autonomous vehicles. Statistics is the most powerful math right now in the world. And basic statistics is the powerful enough. Again, music majors can learn statistics. Statistics is not that difficult. You even
Yep.
said it.
Yep.
I've learned linear algebra. I've learned how to mathematical model a lot of stuff. But right now, I'm not using most of it. All I'm using is basic statistics. I'm using linear regression. I'm using multilinear regression. I'm using decision trees. I'm using what you learn in the basic statistics you could learn in a book for my whole machine learning. And the funny part is I've learned every aspect of data science, but most companies right now, they're in the first part, machine learning. They don't even know where to go in deep learning area. All companies right now, most of your problems are just solved with basic machine learning, basic statistics. 90% of the companies, they will never go beyond machine learning. They'll only stick in machine learning. And I know because I've solved some of the problems. And most problems can be solved in machine learning. Simple linear regression can solve most problems. And that's what most companies are using right now. 90% of most companies are just stuck on using machine learning right now. They can't go further right now, unless you're doing autonomous vehicles and all that. But most companies now in insurance, machine learning. Most hospitals, machine learning. Most Home Depot, all that is still machine learning. Most companies are still using machine on the first stage of data science.
I think about things like supply chain, right? The industry that
machine
I'm in,
learning,
planning, machine learning, right? It's probabilities, all
probably
that sort of stuff. Yes,
that's the first stage of it, and it's not difficult to learn. Again, you might think I have a bias because I know a lot of math, but I promise you, the first stage anybody can learn that. Anybody, and you need to learn. It's not anybody. You need to learn that because right now it's affecting your life. I told you in the banking, and right now it's machine learning is using the court system to determine your bail. If you have a problem in bail, it's an algorithm determines your bail, and nobody's asking the question: what variables are you using to determine what kind of bail I'm getting? Are you using my background, my race? Are you using are you using my income? Are you using where I live, location? What are the variables are you using to judge what my bail is going to be? Nobody's asking that question because nobody's trying to understand that first phase, that machine learning phase, which is affecting most people of color. The court system is in an algorithm now. Most court systems is an algorithm. Every system right now is an algorithm that runs it. And we're not asking that same question. What variables are you using to judge me to get a loan? Can I see that algorithm itself to know what you're using to judge whether I'm acceptable for a loan or a mortgage, or I'm acceptable to get a bail, or I'm accept my kids? Again, an algorithm is used to judge if your kids go to a certain school or not.
Yep.
What algorithms are you used to judge my kid's going to have a good future? What algorithm are you using to do that?
A lot of it's just people's head and their biases.
And that's the problem. We have a lot of biases, and that's the problem. The algorithm, the data. If you create an algorithm with bad data and a lot of biases, that's the problem. It's going to affect people of color because there's a lot of bias. Now the algorithm thinks like the other person that has problems.
Right.
Because again, the data is the fuel of the algorithm. So if you keep feeding the algorithm bad data, we're going to have a problem with that. If you keep feeding an algorithm that says Black people are most likely to go to jail, or Black people are most likely not to pay their loans back, or most likely to default on mortgages, banks will not give us mortgages. Banks will not, because we're feeding that data to the algorithm. And the question is, where are they getting those variables from? Where are they getting those data from?
Right.
You keep feeding it. For instance, the cars and all that, car loans, anything. Just think of it. Our whole system now is run by algorithms. And we don't know what kind of data they're feeding these algorithms. Nobody's asking that question. There are no laws in the books to ask that questions. So right now, when I say people need to learn data, and the world is now moving into data, people keep saying, nah, I'm like, you really want to play with your life like this? The world is now algorithms are now running what we do on a daily basis.
Yeah.
You really don't want to be playing with that.
Yeah. TikTok. YouTube, all that stuff.
Even getting a job now, if I recently worked on a project where I had to write algorithms to define the best candidate. And based on what? That's the question. What is the best candidate? Is it where they live, income, education? What variables determine all those variables? Do they exclude people of color? If I start putting all those variables on marketing, these are the questions we need to ask.
Well, that's deep. That is deep, AIME. And let me do this. I want to pivot real quick because I think that's important. But I also want to talk about, like, we had this great conversation about, people getting into tech, and, statistics is like the key and the fundamental piece of it, right? To get into like AIME and so forth. Let's talk about, and you mentioned it earlier, your jump from 60,000 to 120,000, right? Let's talk about the money to be made, right? I always talk about getting to the bag on this channel. It's important, right?
Yes.
Obviously.
Oh, it's important.
We talked about the machine learning and, the biases on AI and ME. But when you understand these things and you have money and you can create algorithms and you can, help yourself within these systems.
Yeah.
Talk about the money that can be made in these situations, right? Like, I think about this, right? Okay, well, I choose whoever I want to do business with. That's my own personal algorithm, right?
You have variables to look into.
I have a certain amount of capital to be able to do that, right? And put myself in position to be able to do that.
Yeah.
And that's why I always talk about getting to the bag, because it's a powerful resource. Money is a powerful resource. Talk to the people about, man, like, how much money you can be getting into these sorts of roles. I want to hear you talk about that, brother.
So I'm going to tell a story that happened to me last week. So I got a call from human resources from a big company, let's say Home Depot. So they called me up. They said, "Hey, we saw your resume online." I said, okay. We have something we might want you to do, but we don't want to insult you. We don't want to embarrass you, but we just want to know if you're willing to take it. But we don't want to embarrass you. I'm like, embarrass me in what sense? The money is kind of low. I'm like, so tell me what the money is. We just don't want to embarrass you. We just want to talk to you. I'm like, are you trying to convince me or beg me? Which one is this? I said, no, based on your experience. Okay, I said, okay, just tell me. We have a job, 130,000. I'm like, okay. I'm like, I'm not taking it, but thank you. And I dropped the phone. When I dropped it, I started laughing because I wasn't laughing because of the job. I was laughing because there was a time when 130 would make my day.
Oh, I love this. I love this. This is what I was telling you guys about, right? Like, there comes a certain point within your career when you're going to look back and say, man, 100,000 ain't shit.
There was a time 130 when
continue on, brother. Continue on, man.
There was a time 130 was, I just started laughing. My wife looked at me and said, "Why are you laughing?" I'm like, they offered me 100,000. My wife like, and you kept talking. Why didn't you just hang up the phone immediately? And I'm like, I just wanted to entertain something. I wasn't sad. I'm like, so I started laughing. Like, we started laughing. Like, there was a time 130 would have been, oh God, it's something else. But now it's like, why are you 130 is no, I can't do that. So that reflection just came into my mind. And that's what I'm saying. The job market for AI machine learning is so vast. There's a lot of job openings in terms of they're begging people to come in at the entry level, and they pay you 140, 150 at the entry level in machine learning. Because again, there is so many jobs. I showed you some links.
Yep.
And if you look at Verizon or look at any of you can see there are a lot of the job from the 2,000 and some job openings that haven't been filled since last year, August. So since last year of August, they couldn't find anybody to fill positions.
Wow.
And there are lots. I mean, it's from Verizon, Humana. I put Verizon. I put Citibank. There's so many jobs, from 3,800 jobs in data. I just type data, and not data science, just data, from data analytics to data governance, just data. There are 3,000 jobs in Citibank.
Jesus, man, that is insane.
Citibank, just data. And I'm not talking about data science. I'm saying data analytics, business analytics. 3,000 jobs in one company.
Wow, guys.
In Verizon.
Hey, I'm going to put the links into the video description as well, too, so that you can go and check this out. AI and Emily dropped it in there. I tried to drop it into the comment section just now. I don't know if it, pasted the right way, but what I'll do is I'll take those same links and add it to the video description so you guys can go and check those out. Continue on, brother.
In Verizon, there's 684 jobs just for data. There's so many jobs in the data field that they can't fill it. I get calls weekends. I started blocking people. Like, dude, I don't know. I'm good. And the opportunities are endless. I mean, human resources in my job, human resources calls me up and say, how are you feeling? You feeling good today? We want to make sure you're feeling great, because we know there are opportunities out there. If you get angry and say, I don't like this job, in 5 seconds, I can get another job somewhere else. So HR calls you up every 2 months and say, hey, we want to know how you're feeling, how you're enjoying the job. What are you into? That's what they do every 2 months. They call me up and like, we just want to know how you're feeling. Are you enjoying your job? Are you being fulfilled? Is there something we can do to make it better for you? I'm like, you don't really need to be calling me every 2 months. Just pay me my check and I'm good. Yep. But that's because they know there's so many jobs out there that you're not expendable. You're a resource they need. Because right now, if I say, okay, look, I'm going to start looking for a job, I can get 10 calls and that can get me a job over just this weekend.
Wow.
Because there's that much opening in data and in anything data, and it pays so much well. Yeah. I got interviews from Meta, and Meta just started. Meta, the company, called me up and said, hey, we have positions for you. We have positions in Facebook and data science and all that. And they pay $300, $260, $340. I'm like, okay, that's nice. And those are the positions you can get easy. Data analytics.
I love that. I absolutely love that. And that's big time money. And it falls in line, AIME, to the things that I talk about when I'm looking at these Business Insider articles and looking at these salaries at these top companies, right? I mean, these are the salaries that they're saying for people who are data analytic engineers or machine learning engineers or AI engineers and so forth, man. And it's big time money. It's big time money. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna hit the chats real quick because I want to make sure I'm not leaving anybody out for questions and super chats as well too, because I see some of those in here as well. SOBC is in the house. Brother Kevin is in the house. He said, good morning, Brother Antoine. Finally caught it live. I hope you're doing fantastic, Brother Kevin. SOBC, good to see you this morning. Absolutely. Ben E, brother Ben E with the 1999 super chat. I appreciate you, brother. He said, good morning. Definitely will be taking notes during this. Yeah, we're going to get some of your questions too. SOBC says, if you are good at statistics, then data science should be a natural fit. That's good. What's your thoughts on that? AI.
True. If you're good at statistics, learn, and take a little Python, and you're good. You're a machine learning engineer. Learn statistics, learn a little Python, and start applying the machine learning jobs. They will take you and train you.
Wow.
Banks. I mean, go to any bank. Click Bank of America, type data. You see hundreds and thousands of jobs. Any bank, just type data on there. Thousands of jobs just opening, begging you. And they're paying you, banks will pay you 100 and something thousand, 120, 130. Imagine a young guy coming out of college, $120,000 in your pocket, Bank of America. You don't need to buy a Corolla. You go buy you something nicer.
Hey, so it's like you and I, right? When we got out of college, we got that first job. Mine was $48,000. I thought I was balling, right?
I was balling.
Yours was 60, right? You was like, you thought you was balling.
I'm set for life. but now you can come out as a machine learning engineer, make it 120, and nobody's gonna say anything to you. The banks will be begging you to stay because at one point you can say, I can go to the next bank, take my experience from here in a year and take off. You can't do me. There's nothing you can do or say to me. You can either pay me more or I leave. And that's what people are doing. And most AI engineers, they don't even work for corporate anymore. They go start their own companies. Man, I have ideas. I'm already starting. I'm looking at starting 2 companies right now, and using AI and blockchain and all that to start some of the stuff I'm working on. And most of them, they sell. Most startup companies are AI companies. If you look at it, most startups are AI. Even your guest that came, the insurance, the guest that came, I think last weekend, that talked about his insurance company.
Yes, absolutely.
I asked him question, is it an AI company? He said, no. I already have ideas to make his company an AI-driven company that makes it much easier and make it more better.
Yeah.
Because now you're running an automated system that basically makes it better to basically take all the data you have and makes decisions on whether you get insurance or car insurance or run an insurance rate on your car if you have an accident. You can automate that system quickly with an algorithm. So these are the stuff people do now. So it's either, okay, I don't want to work for you. I'm making 340. Yes, it's nice, but I want to go make $1 million or $2 million.
that's a huge piece of it, right? So you bring up a good point, right? And I want to hit on this because this is something that I was talking to the patrons last night, me and my brother Jason. And we talked about, getting to a higher salary in your career and learning these skills, and then, ultimately you're going to reach a ceiling, right? A lot of people,
you will reach that ceiling.
They can only hit a certain amount within their salary. It could be $500, it could be $1 million, it could be $2 million, it could be 27 million, like Tim Cook, but there's always a ceiling. If you want to remove that salary cap ceiling,
you got to go
walk and branch off and do your own thing.
So that's what I'm trying to do with organic foods, with different aspects of my own company. I'm saying, look, yeah, I'm nice. It's nice. Don't get me wrong. My family's nice. I live in a nice place. But I still want to go do my own thing. I got ideas I need to run through. So, yes, I'll work for you, but I'm still going to be doing my own thing. I got a lot of ideas. And again, this is what learning basically gives you. This is what learning a good skill gives you, that advantage, like saying, I'm going to bet on myself, and I know I have the skill to bet on myself. I have the experience to bet on myself. So I'm going to go bet on myself. But I'm still going to be making money at the same time, but I'm still going to go bet on myself at the same time too. And you're not afraid to go bet on yourself, because in the job, if they say, oh man, we need you because you have your own company, we need you to leave. You say, okay, I'll go to another company. Still make that money and still be running my own company. Till my own company starts making more money, then I leave.
Exactly.
But that's the mindset I have in terms of, I've learned this skill. I learned a lot of skill from blockchain to cryptography to AI and all that. And I said, I have this bag of tricks. I need to go make more money than bag of tricks. So this is the evolution of what learning a certain skill can do. Being a subject matter expert does. It basically gives you the advantage to say, okay, the market is here. The market isn't paying me what I think I'm worth. I'm going to go find a way to make more money in the market.
Exactly.
So
I love that. I love that. Noah Page says, happy Saturday, everyone. Good to see you, brother Noah, our Patreon member, account manager, making all the money too, man. I'm telling you, Noah may already be at 240. Pro Styles like neural networks. Yes, he did say like neural networks. It's crazy how, you talked about the deep learning piece of it and how it's like, programming like our neural networks, man. That was dope. SOBC says our cell phones are walking AI machines, predictive text messaging. Absolutely.
Yes, natural language processing.
Absolutely. Kagarim 2010. Hopefully I'm not pronouncing, or I am pronouncing your name the right way. He says, hello, new to the channel here. Microsoft Azure Machine Learning Studio is awesome to build machine learning apps. You know anything about that?
Yeah, Azure and all that. Those are good cloud technologies to build your. But one thing I'll say this: if you want, I always tell people learn how to build the architecture, because what those cloud, if you want to do your own company, the cloud they don't give you the architecture to build. You have to build it yourself. What this does is like a calculator. You just punch in numbers and it spits out numbers for you. But if you want to create a company or create something, you need to learn how to create that back end, know how that statistics work, how everything works. But again, it's a good tool. It's a tool, remember. But again, the tool is like a calculator. You punch in numbers. But in order to understand those numbers, you have to understand what's behind the numbers, the architecture behind it. So again, learning cloud is fine. It's beautiful. But I believe you should learn the statistics, how to build a machine learning architecture, how to understand the deep learning architecture, how to understand reinforcement learning, understanding the depth, so that if you say at the end of the day, I want to build something on my own and I want to basically patent it, I want it to be mine and I can sell it, you need to understand the in-depth workings of it. Yep. And all that doesn't give you the in-depth working. It just gives you a template. Yep. And that template is, and the funny thing is, the template is theirs. They're not going to tell you what's behind the template.
Yeah.
Azure is not, they're not going to tell you what's behind the template. Microsoft is not going to tell you. They tell you use it, but again, we're not going to tell you how it's being built.
Yeah.
So that's it's good to learn, but again, learn the inner workings of it, so that if you want to build your own, again, this might be going over people. You can take a transformer and a convolutionary neural network, join it together, create another algorithm on its own and sell it or do something. So these are the ways you can think, but you have to learn the inner workings of it. But again, Azure is brilliant for a calculator. But again, learn the inner workings, and that makes you more valuable in the eyes of companies or in the eyes of yourself itself.
I love that. Kagarin says also higher learning math plays an important part in data and software engineering. Can't go wrong with learning it. Absolutely. SOB says statisticians get triggered when you call them statistics math. When you call statistics math.
Yes, they do get triggered, but again, as long as I'm making the money, that trigger doesn't bother me.
First row says it builds and bias into the algorithms. Then that bias upon itself. Yeah, absolutely. Yes, absolutely. I think whether it was IT builds and bias into the algorithm, or then that bias builds upon itself. You're absolutely right. So you think about it, if somebody's responsible for programming that, that algorithm, and taking what their thoughts are into the algorithm, and you already have bias in it. That's bias on top of bias on top of bias.
And the biggest problem was done with the facial recognition. When they had problems, facial recognition couldn't identify Black folks. And the reason was because people building that algorithm were white folks, and they weren't taking enough Black data to try to differentiate between skin tones of Black people, facial features of Black people. So they were thinking Black people were just one dimensional. They're Black, they're this color, this is what we're going to feed the data. But the problem is they didn't know there were facial tones, different shades of Black people and all that, but they didn't figure that out. So now the algorithm identified anybody was the same. The Black woman is the same as any Black woman. So that's a problem with facial recognition. They didn't feed it the right data. So now they're resolving it by collecting a lot of data sets, a lot of facial recognition from different tones, from different Black people, their facial features, and now trying to resolve that problem. So that's where, again, these are the problems we need to be looking at. Again, algorithms they're using algorithms to make decisions for us. So now we need to understand where these algorithms are going, what data is fueling, what kind of data is fueling that algorithm, who's creating algorithms. Court systems are putting algorithms, and we're not asking questions like, why is this algorithm making decisions on some stuff I'm doing? So what data are you feeding it? Am I going to come out one day and get arrested because I look like someone in Chicago who just robbed a liquor store, and you're going to arrest me? Is that something I need to be afraid of? So these are the stuff. These are the stuff we need not only to understand in terms of how these decisions are being made, but again, who's making those decisions? Are we involved in it?
Yep. That's important. That's important. Brother Billy Rowe says on First Row, guys. Matter of fact, here, let me do this. Brother First Row obviously was on the channel about 2 weeks ago. Guys, if you haven't, go ahead and jump on his book that he just released, or it's actually, that he actually came on the show. Hire or fire your job, hire your passion. Fire your job, hire your passion. Guys, go ahead and check out Billy Rowe's book that's out there, hit the market. And it's, guys, you got to go out there and support him, man. He was actually on the show about 2 weeks ago on a coffee talk and did a wonderful job of talking about how he was actually going through the process of creating this book and developing this book. And it was a wonderful story, guys. So go ahead and check out Brother First Row. You can go to www.firstrow.com and you can actually purchase the book from that website, guys. Check them out. But First Row also says, understanding FICO algorithms is how you manage your credit score. Absolutely great. I appreciate that, brother. With the $10 super chat, great conversation. Let's just talk about the money. You know we got to talk about the money. The money is big time. There's a whole bunch of chats in here. Jeff Yu says, hello and good morning. Good morning to you, Jeff Yu. Flor de Oro, thanks for the links. I appreciate that. Actually, Jeff Yu said, thank you, Black Heights. Decoya says 50K with 2 years of electrical, got lucky. Oh man, I tell you, one thing, he's making a shitload more than that now. Wow. Hey man, we're gonna have to help you get to why you haven't gone past 25K.
You gotta get you up. We gotta get you up.
We're gonna have to help you get there, man. Yeah, Real M says, wow, I already learned Python about the Pickup Statistics book. This man is preaching the gospel today, man. I absolutely. And Rail's a Patreon member of ours too. I appreciate you, Rail, for being here, brother. Thank you so much. And Rail's always takes stuff in the game, man. I'm telling you like this. We got some young Thundercats part of the Patreon that are just absorbing so much and so further ahead in places where I was when I was in my 20s, early 30s and stuff like that, because they have mentors like, people like AIME, to have, mentors like PBO, have mentors like myself and so forth. It's pretty amazing that, you have some, folks that are just on the right path and doing some wonderful things, man. And then to be able to have people like AIME to come on the show and guide us as well, too. Like, I had no idea that it was that, I don't want to say easy to get into like my data analytics role. It's really the statistics, but it gives me a lot more confidence to, if I ever wanted to explore that sometime in life, that, hey, I can do it. Not only that, I have a resource that I can tap into as well, too.
So I always tell people, start with data analytics. Don't be afraid. Jump into it. Yep. You will learn and it pays well. You 25K, you really don't need to be staying 25K. You need to be.
No, not at all. I agree with that. To be honest, you can only break into the milli line with investments plus the work unless you're extremely optimized, self-employed. Or you can hit $1 million. I mean, like, put it like this. I've been able to do it myself personally without being completely self-employed. So it can happen. It can definitely happen. This is some serious game. I'm currently in the service side of automotive and technical repair, data entry, providing detailed repair into info from my computer. I will for sure look into this more. Absolutely, Jeff. You. Antonio Craps is in the house. It says, yeah, they had too small of a sample of Black people. Yes, you're talking about the facial recognition. I remember that. I remember that article that came out about that. Decoya says, team, since you're both very knowledgeable in software, what do you think about computer science person should learn outside of college? Let me make sense. Team, since you're both very knowledgeable on software, what do you think a computer science person should learn outside of college? That's a good question. So, there's multiple paths that you can take as a computer science major. This is a question that I have for, brother AI and me. You mentioned the data analyst role, right? You talk about a lot of data analytics and so forth. And we got other paths that people are taking for cybersecurity. And you can, as a computer science, wherever you apply cybersecurity, data analytics, and so forth. What is your preferred path, if you have one, sir, for somebody like, MIS or computer science coming out of college? What's your thoughts on that?
Again, it depends on what you like. So I love data. So I started as a data analyst. So now everybody loves cyber. So you can be a cybersecurity analyst too. You can use numbers to discern problems as a cybersecurity analyst. It's the same pathway. So again, if you want to go into AI, I always say start with the basics. Data analyst. Learn how numbers work. Learn how to communicate. That's a big aspect of it that nobody talks about. Communication.
Yep.
Because again, I can go to my director and tell him, I use this algorithm and all that. He's like, I don't want to hear that. I just want to hear the results. Why are you telling me about the algorithm? Communication of those, telling a story about the data. It's telling them, okay, this data says at March or June, you had the highest profit margin because this. That's what he wants to hear. He doesn't want to hear about the algorithm. He doesn't care about the algorithm. So learning how to communicate that, learning how to talk to people, learning how to get information, because again, your goal is to get information from people. And learning, I can talk to somebody, and once he keeps talking, I can get a lot of information from him. And say, okay, I can decide, based on what I've heard from you, there's a lot of things I can discern about you or something like that. That's how people talk. That's how you start thinking. Again, like one day I was saying, okay, how can I create an algorithm to track Anton everywhere? Track you everywhere. I said, okay, basically I have your YouTube channel, I have your voice recognition, I have your facial recognition. Learning how to take that data and say, I'm going to create an algorithm, and then communicating how you created that data, communicating how you created it, and say, hey, I used your YouTube. It was free. Yep. So I can capture your facial recognition. I can capture your audio, how you speak, certain tonality and how you say your ifs or this. Then I can put it in an algorithm and put it in every camera in the United States, and I can ping them, know where you'll be in
that
every second.
Insane. Oh God.
Again, I'm that kind of person. I'm that kind of nerd. But yeah, I can track you wherever you want to be by just using your tonal and your face. You already provided. It's free. You already provided for me in YouTube, so I can take as much data I can get and track you everywhere you go.
You know what AI is, man? You think about it. You know, all of us content creators, we think about like, you know, how we're doing a good service and stuff like that. Which is a good thing. But just imagine for the people who aren't, you know, doing it for the right reasons, right? Their information is already out there. Facial recognition, voice, and that's crazy. I don't think loudly like that, but you do. You have the mind of understanding the goods and all this other stuff, how it could be used, and you just explain it. Hey, I can track this guy easily by just going to his YouTube channel, listening to his voice, listening to looking at what he looks like, how he expresses himself, to government controlled types of cameras, and be able to pick up on this guy just like that. That is insane.
So when you wear your glasses, when you don't wear your glasses, how you say your ifs, how you say your deep tones and all that. I'm like, okay, I know. And if I want to be specific, I say, okay, your Amazon purchases. He purchases Amazon, and this is where his location is, or your purchases in where you purchase your gas, all that. I can say he purchases his gas around this radius. Yeah, I'm going to track where he is and put cameras in there with your facial. And at that point, I already know where you live. So yeah, I'm a nerd. So I can do all that. But again,
awesome.
That's what AI can do. That's what AI can do. And this is what it is. It's that powerful. It's a tool. But again, there's only 2% of Black people in AI. I understood this. I understood how powerful this tool is. And I read about it and deciphered it. But we need more people to understand this tool, because it's not everybody. Elon Musk once said that this tool is something to be feared, but the problem is he uses it to make billions of dollars. He always talks, AI is something to be feared and scared, but he uses it in every invention he has. He has an AI in it. and he's made his whole family billions of dollars. So the question is, we don't need to fear AI. We need to understand it and utilize it to our advantage.
Mm.
And that's what I'm trying to do.
I love that.
Utilize it to what I can do with it. So don't fear AI. Don't fear data. Data is too powerful to be scared of. It's something we need to harness and then utilize it in some way. Even to make, if you want to make as much money you want, harness it. It's that powerful. If Facebook is using data to make billions of dollars, why can't you use the same data to make yourself as rich as possible, or harness it as make yourself as knowledgeable as possible? And that's what it is. Data, simple data.
I love that. I love that. My wife came here and said, my connection sounds a bit choppy. So guys, I apologize if my connection sounds a bit choppy. We're in a different studio this week. But you know what? The core is actually a college student, so him saying he makes $25K, of course, I get it, man. When you're in college, man, so making $25K, I get it. That's he says not even joking about the learning early because of the web. In 2010, YouTube was a joke full of cat videos. I literally learned the program
Arduinos.
What is that, by the way?
Just a program.
Got it.
On YouTube is not doing that. I know Arduinos.
Got it. PBO says AI in cybersecurity, the bag. Yes, many bags there. Brother First Row also says understand how to tell a story and you automatically share the data. Absolutely. She is SOP. They already have algorithms watching us. hey, the way how you just said it, AI and me, man, I'm scared.
You don't need to be scared.
It's like, man, if I want to track Antoine, this is how I do it. I just go to this. I go to this YouTube channel and just have all that stuff. That's pretty dope. I think that's pretty awesome, though. But at the same time, it's like, hey, man, that's why you got to put your best foot forward every single day, because at the end of the day, we're all being watched. It's all being recorded. It's all going to a system. It's all part of AI. It's all part of machine learning. And I'm glad that you were able to come on here to, share with us your personal journey with getting there, being able to get to the bag and explaining to us that, it isn't as complex as we thought it was. I feel like this. I've learned a lot today, AI and me, because of the fact that I just, when I always talked about or heard people talk about AI and machine learning, I was so formed, like, okay, well, that's just another side of the technical. At the end of the day, it's basis of statistics that I've learned today. And, once you understand those pieces of which I absolutely love statistics and, part of my MBA math, we had to do a lot of statistics and all that other stuff. Yeah. That's the fundamentals behind it. I'm not as concerned about it. And I want for my audience who's want to watch this, for the folks who, are looking at the data analytics path or don't know what path they're on, but may like data and may not like math. But if you can learn statistics, which the majority of us can learn, right? You have another path in the technical sector that you can go down, the data analytics route, the machine learning route, the AI route as well too. And you can get paid a lot of money. I'm talking about a lot of money and have a lot of opportunities in your life. And, brother AI and me shared that with us as well too, with the links that he provided. So, man, I wanna say thank you so much for your time this morning. I appreciate you waking up early on this Saturday morning to come in and drop the game with us. And as always, man, you are so welcome to come back on this channel at any point in time. Do me a favor, check out your YouTube channel, your Instagram link, because you are on YouTube, right?
Yeah, I'm starting a channel on AI, the AI and me, to teach people about data analytics, also to give people insights about how AI is involved in not only autonomous vehicle, in sports, boxing, basketball, music. AI is involved in every aspect. So my channel will cover in detail, if you want, in the music industry, how AI is influencing that, in boxing and so the goal is to broaden every technology, not only AI, but blockchain, IoT, to teach people that these technologies are accessible and you can learn from it and use it and you can use it in this industry, right? It's because there's a lot of channels that teach you the mathematics and all that, but there's not a lot of channels that tell you this is what AI is used in music industry. This is what is used in the finance. This is what is used in the movies industry and all that. So I want to make sure people that AI is now involved in your daily lives, and this is where it's involved in, and this is where you can be involved in and know how to basically make your way in it. The avenues, again, startups are focusing on AI and blockchain and IoT, and they're making billions of dollars, millions of dollars in startups. Someone can start a company now. 3 years in an AI company, 3 years from now, someone has already bought the company for 19, 20 million.
Yeah.
I've seen people sell their companies for 65 million. An AI company that just does real estate. I'm like, after 3 years, you sold it for 65 million, and I'm here playing with you. No, so I want to teach people. I want that 65 million. I want to be like Antoine. I want to go to Los. I want to go to. I want to go to California too. So I want to go to California too. So no. So try to teach people that there are areas you can go into and make that money and be involved and not limit yourself to just what's around you. The opportunity is endless. And again, AI and all that. So choose where you want to go and go from there. So the channel focuses on all that.
Good
and
stuff,
also
man.
jobs and all that too.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Absolutely, guys. Go and check him out. Check him out in this channel. So is it already started already, AI made, or is it going to be
I'm putting videos. I'll start putting videos this week. So
awesome.
I just started. So this week I'll start putting good videos up on what data analytics, jobs, and also where you can start and how you can start and start going from there. Try to relate AI with what's out here. If you're in the music industry, AI is in music, and will.i.am is doing AI in the music industry. So people are getting involved. You should get involved too. Take your passion and go use machine learning to drive your passion and make money.
I love that. I absolutely love that, guys. As I mentioned, go and check out brother Billy Rowe's book at firstrow.com as well. Miss Wade also dropped in here. Get professional coaching from Antoine Wade. Guys, need a coaching session? Go ahead and book a coaching with me at www.blkheights.com. And guys, don't forget to hit the like button if you like this content. And also, if you're new to this channel, go ahead and hit the subscribe button as well too. Casual Economist says, think I am officially giving up on econ. I need the bag from data. my man AIM and got Casual Economist get ready to get to the bag, man. Trisha Jones says good information. Maria Velez says motivational. Absolutely. Tangeray Gin and Tonic, thank you so much for the $10 super chat. Really enjoying the conversations. Thanks to you both. Ms. Wade, join the Patreon, guys. That's right. You want to be around a group of like-minded individuals that are on the way to the bag or already at the bag and going to continue to get the bag. Go ahead and jump on the Patreon. Also, you'll get exclusive access to me if you are a premium member, where you can just pick up the phone, call me at any point in time, get coaching calls and so forth, mentorship and so forth, which, by the way, I have a coaching call at this hour right now. So, Eddie, if you're watching us right now, I told you that my show might go a little bit longer today, but I'm going to be jumping on a coaching call with him in a few minutes. So, Brother Miguel, I'll see you in a couple minutes. And then let me see, make sure let me wrap this thing up. Jeff Yu says fire. Teresa, welcome Jeff Yu to the Black Heights Patreon. Oh, Jeff Yu just joined. I appreciate you, brother. Decoder theory versus execution is what my electrical engineering professor called it. Absolutely. Well, brother, I wanted to thank you again for coming on to the channel. Thank you so much. And we will catch up again next time. And I will call you this afternoon. A conversation with them how we can schedule the next show. And also,
no problem.
You need to start your channel as well too. You just reach out to me.
No problem.
Thank you so much for the time this morning. Okay.
No problem. So everybody enjoy. Think of data and basically get that money.
Get that money. I appreciate it, brother. I appreciate it. Guys, you know how we do it. You know how we do it on this Saturday morning. And until next time, y'all. Peace.